الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله أحمده وأستعينه وأستغفره وأستهديه وأعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صفوة الخلق وخليله صلوات ربي وسلامه عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ثم أما بعد. In today's time, where most of the people have been engaged in this worldly life, have been distracted by all the affairs in this dunya, all the lusts everywhere, gaining from here and gaining from there, it's very difficult, near to impossible sometimes, to find people that are still stick to their values and their principles. And when we find these people, we get so much in support of them, and we see a big lessons to be learned. In the past 2 weeks, we've been hearing about more than one instance of these. And it's very important for us to recognize them, because we live in this world, we're going through the same distractions that anyone else is going. But we need to take a moment to reflect on incidents that happen around us, where we find examples of people who, regardless of what goes around them, they still have principles that they are very much attached to them. The one example was that of a Christian lady by the name of Shireen Abu Aqla. Shireen Abu Aqla was 51 years old when she was shot, when she was killed in Palestine. She was a journalist, who spent the last 25 years of her life, like half of her life, as a journalist, covering all the incidents happening in Palestine. Just a couple of days ago, she was covering the invasion that the Israeli army has against Jenin camp. And as she was covering that with all the press address, like she was recognized very well with her shield, with her, with everything that says she is part of the press, of the press media. Someone shot her on her face, on her head, and killed her in a very deliberate fashion, because she was wearing the shields and whatnot, but someone devoted to kill her from the oppressors who are invading Jenin and other places in Palestine. The lady has been working for the past 5 years in the Palestinian area, and she had one aim, one goal, one objective that she always would share with people. She said, "I'm not going to leave until I draw a smile on the faces of Palestinians. I want to bring the truth about how much they are being oppressed and how they are being dealt with by the oppressors to all humanity in the worldwide." That was her principle, that was her value, that was her mission. And she passed away. She was killed for it. She sacrificed herself, she sacrificed her life for that purpose. I think talking about a Christian lady, so non-Muslims and not man, lady, doing this for 20 consecutive years at a time when she could have done a much better, more money elsewhere, in a much more safe place, because she is a US citizen anyway. This kind of sacrifice is not something that we see even mostly within the Muslim world, let alone anywhere else. And I would like to think with you on two areas here. One is that she has been doing what she did because she believed in giving the rights of humans regardless of who they are. The vast majority of Palestinians are Muslims, yet she, as a Christian, was working her best to give a relief to the Muslims. So when someone has a principle, they live for it, we have to recognize them. We have to realize where we stand with this type of examples. And I always ask myself, like, what did you do for the people who are being oppressed in Palestine, the people who are being oppressed in Kashmir, the Rohingya, the people in China, the people in Africa, like all the people worldwide? Like, what have we been doing to help them? What have we been doing to the people of the same religion that we believe in, like the Muslims, let alone the non-Muslims? And seeing an example of a Christian lady who would do this is really something that we need to think very much about ourselves, like where does that put us? The other area that I would like to share with you the thought on is, yes, as a non-Muslim, we have to recognize what she has done. And the books of fiqh, the books of Islam all talk about how we offer condolences and how we support those non-Muslims who live with us, even normal life, let alone those who have been offering great support like there. But when it comes to the matters of akhirah, the matters of the hereafter, That's a totally different story. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His own rule in this life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us ruling on how to interact with non-Muslims in this life, and Allah has another set of rules on what happens to the people in the hereafter, Muslims or non-Muslims. We should not mix between the two. We've been hearing about incidents where some Muslims got so much emotional and they offered Salat al-Janaza on her. That's not permissible. Yes, recognizing what she has been doing and offering condolences and support to all her family, that's of course part of our religion. But going further into what happens in the hereafter, there is another rule. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, مَا كَانَ لِلنَّبِيِّ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ أَن يَسْتَغْفِرُوا لِلْمُشْرِكِينَ وَلَوْ كَانُوا أُولِي قُرْبَى. That it is not permissible for the Prophet, nor for the believers with him, to seek forgiveness for the disbelievers even after they pass away, even if they were their own relatives. That's a ruling in Islam. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the most merciful human ever created on this earth, has asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to visit the grave of his mother, and he was given the permission to do so. But then he asked the permission to make forgiveness for her, to seek forgiveness for her, and he was not. That's his own mother. His uncle, Abu Talib, was the greatest support for Prophet Muhammad ﷺ during his life. Until his last moment of his life, he was the greatest support of him ﷺ. But then he passed away without declaring Islam, and he ﷺ could not make istighfar for him. So we have different rulings that we have to abide with. And by the way, for those people who say, where is Allah's mercy? Well, we cannot challenge Allah's mercy. You know, Rasul ﷺ, after one of the battles, was with his companions, and he saw this woman looking for her baby. She lost her baby. So every time she would see like a group of people, she would approach them and ask them if they find her baby, until she found a baby, and she immediately hugged him and breastfed him. Rasul ﷺ and all the Sahaba saw this incident, and he ﷺ asked them, أَتَرَوْنَ هَذِهِ طَارِحَةً وَلَدَهَا فِي النَّارِ? Do you think that this lady is going to throw her baby in the hellfire? They said, no, of course no. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لَاللَّهُ أَرْحَمُ بِعِبَادِهِ مِنْ هَذِهِ بِوَلَدِهَا. Allah is verily more merciful with His servants than this mother with her own child. Now, does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give this mercy to this particular lady? We don't know. But Allah said in the Quran that the ones who have passed away disbelieving in Allah and rejecting Islam will go to hellfire. That's very common in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we know in principle like what the ruling is, but we cannot judge individual people because we never know how they passed away. We deal with them on the surface, like what they have been telling us who they were. We deal with them in this dunya, and Allah knows about their interiors. And by the way, the word shaheed or martyr that some of the Muslims have been using, you know that as an Islamic ruling, if we know of a very religious, devoted Muslim today who has been spending his whole life defending Islam, and then he was killed in a battlefield, even that person, we cannot call him shaheed. You know that? Because the word shaheed in Islam means a person of Jannah. We cannot tell Allah who to put in Jannah and who to place in the hellfire. We cannot, this is not our job. We can't do that. We say, for a Muslim like that, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept him for that Muslim. But we can't even label him as a shaheed, let alone a non-Muslim. We can't do that, brothers and sisters. We have to really understand that this life ruling has nothing to do with the hereafter rulings. Now, away from this is another incident that has happened in the past few days. Something that really makes us very proud. There's this guy originally from the Senegal. His name is Idrissa Gueye. Idrissa Gueye is a famous football or soccer ball player. He plays for one of the French team, Paris Saint-Germain. And just in the past few days, he was supposed to participate in a game where every player would dress a shirt with a rainbow in support of the LGBTQ things. So this guy is not known as a sheikh. No one knows him as a preacher. No one knows him as an Islamic, scholar or any of this. He's just a soccer ball player. That's all. Famous one. And subhanAllah, but he has principle. He has values. So he did not participate in that because he didn't like to wear that shirt. As easy as this. All the media, the organizers, the organizers, and the people there have been attacking him, like left and right. Like, why did he not come? Is he against them? Doesn't he respect? Doesn't he this? And unfortunately, they even went further and they said, if you were sick, we understand, but we want you to wear that shirt and take a photo to tell us that you're not against it. To that extent. In a country that claims that they have freedom of speech and freedom of choice and whatever. But when it comes to those kind of things, it's a totally different story. But this guy, Idrissa Gueye, may Allah bless him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him a way better replacement and compensation than what those people are attacking him with. This guy showed a great example of how a Muslim should stick to his values. He has been always great to the people around him. Like he would show respect to Muslims, non-Muslims, male, female, straight or homosexual, all people. He's not against, he's not really discriminating, he's not doing any of that sort. But he has a principle. He believes that this homosexuality is not in Islam permissible. He believes that this is against his religion. So he's not in support of that. And by him not attending, he has sent a message to millions and millions of people that most of our scholars at this time could not do. Telling everyone that the principle of Islam is more dear to my heart than all my career, regardless of how much famous I will be or how much they will be paying me. Dear brothers and sisters, wallahi, this is an honor for us. Wallahi, this brother, may Allah protect him and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him steadfast, Ya Rabb, in the religion, has done a great thing that most of us could not do. And I do believe that we live in a place where we have way more freedom to say to express our feelings and to say what we believe in, and no one pushes us. And here in America, it's way more easy for a person to stay who they are and not to just hide things. Yet, we're not seeing this from Muslims here. Like people change their names in order to fit in the society, let alone what this Idrissa guy has done. May Allah protect him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and give him the best of the dunya and the akhirah. Allahumma ameen. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه وتوبوا إليه إنه غفور رحيم. الحمد لله على إحسانه والشكر له على توفيقه وامتنانه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشانه وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الداعي إلى رضوانه يا ربي صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Dear brothers and sisters, let us now live some moments that have happened in the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu warḍah. When he was the Khalifa, he sent a group of Sahaba to the Damascus area, where the Roman Empire was. Among the people who went there was a Sahabi by the name of Abdullah ibn Hudhafa as-Sahmi. Abdullah ibn Hudhafa as-Sahmi, one of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they went there. Abdullah ibn Hudhafa was very known for his loyalty to Prophet Muhammad and loyalty to Islam. So when he went there, along with the group, there was a conflict, there was a little bit of attack, and then they took them as in the prison. So the king, or whoever was there, was very curious to meet with Muslims and see who they are. So he commanded that they were brought to his place, and he wanted to challenge them further. So he was asked, he was told about the lead, which was Abdullah ibn Hudhafa as-Sahmi. So he was focusing on him more than anyone else. So as we all know, they have this interrogation in the stick and carrot approach to deal with people. So what he just said, how about you become a Muslim, you leave Islam, and I will give you half of my kingdom. And you are here now, so you don't need to fear anything. And he said, if you give me all what you have, I won't leave the fold of Islam. And then he started to change the mood, and he said, but I will put you in prison. He said, do whatever you want. Then he asked his people, he said, crucify him and throw arrows on him, so that threatening him that you will be killing him. So they did so, and they would throw arrows, but they will go left and right, but not hitting his body. And every time they throw something, they ask him, are you gonna change your mind? And he would be no. By the way, if someone is asked to leave Islam and was threatened by someone to be killed, then they have the permission in Islam to say something to relieve them if their hearts are still full of Iman. But this guy, Abdullah ibn Hudhafa as-Sahmi, did not want to say a word that humiliate a Muslim in front of the kafir. So he said no. So what the king did, he asked to bring like a big container of boiling oil. And he asked that two of the Muslims of that group to be thrown in that, alive. And Abdullah ibn Hudhafa as-Sahmi saw that, and he saw them dying of that boiling oil after they were thrown in it. And the king was watching him, and he felt that he was saddened. So he asked him, what makes you sad? Are you changing your mind? He said, Wallahi, I'm sad because I only have one life. I wish I have as many lives as the number of my hairs to go through this same trial and get the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was Abdullah ibn Hudhafa as-Sahmi. His religion is more dear to his heart than anything in this life. When the king realized that it is impossible to change those people, he thought about anything that at least gives him some, way out. So he said, okay, are you willing to kiss my forehead and I will release you? Abdullah ibn Hudhafa as-Sahmi thought about it, and he said, only if you release all the Muslims in this group. And the king, with his ego, said, of course, I will do it. So Abdullah ibn Hudhafa's time, he kissed his forehead and he released them all. They went back to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. When Umar saw him, he called upon the people and he said, كان حقا على كل مسلم أن يقبل رأس عبد الله بن حذافة وأنا أول من يبدأ به. That it is the right, it is compulsory upon every Muslim to kiss his forehead as he saved all the Muslim group with him. And I'll be the first one to kiss his forehead. Brothers and sisters, Islam is a great religion, but it requires great people. It requires strong people. It requires people who are proud of it. People who feel honored to be Muslims and not to hide their identity. People who are willing to say no to oppression, no to anything that goes against their religion. Not fearing anything in this life, not fearing to lose their jobs, not fearing to be mocked at, not fearing to be put in prison, not fearing to be killed for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was the reason that made Sahaba who they were. That was who the Sahaba were. And I hope and I pray that we are all the followers of the Sahaba. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring among us in this time people who will show how proud they are of their religion and give that example that everyone will follow. Allahumma ya Rabbana, علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم إنا نسألك يا رحمن يا رحيم يا قيوم السماوات والأرضين أن ترينا الحق حقا وترزقنا اتباعه وترينا الباطل باطلا وترزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم يا الله يا قيوم السماوات والأرضين، نسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء أن تلطف بنا وأن ترحمنا. اللهم يا ربنا أعز الإسلام وانصر المسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام وانصر المسلمين. اللهم أعلي كلمة الدين. اللهم استعملنا في طاعتك. اللهم استعملنا في طاعتك. اللهم انصر الإسلام بنا يا أكرم الأكرمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. الله نور السماوات والأرض مثل نوره كمشكاة فيها مصباح المصباح في زجاجة الزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري يوقد من شجرة مباركة زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسسه نار نور على نور يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس والله بكل شيء عليم. الله أكبر.